And thank you, Dr. Straube. Dr. Sebastian Straube is the Division Director of Preventive Medicine in the Department of Medicine here at the U of A. And he will share with us some closing words. Thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you, Karen. And can you hear me okay? Can everyone hear and see me well?
Yep.
Okay, that's fantastic. So I think at this point in the day, there are two questions on everyone's mind. The first is, who is this person speaking? And the second, how long is he going to speak for? Now, I know that the number one priority of the closing speaker should be brevity, and I will therefore be delivering just some short remarks. And the reason that I'm here is that the Division of Preventive Medicine, where I am Division Director, is, if you will, Karen's academic home. And so she's been kind enough to give me the honor of giving closing remarks and has asked me to provide a summary of the day. So I'll do that, and I'll be very selective. I'll just share with you some things that stuck in my mind and that resonated with me. And if I don't mention some of the speakers, that's not meant to be disrespect. It's all been fantastic, but in the interest of brevity, what stuck with me was Rick Lightning's remarks about the dimensions of fitness, mental, physical, and spiritual, and how the confluence of those could lead to happiness. I think that was an excellent thought to start the day. And I also liked how the mayor of Whitecourt brought along the mayor for the day. And I think really we at the university should adopt that concept. It likely will lead to more interesting decision making, and might be an idea worth copying. Karen, you yourself then spoke about the impact of seemingly little changes like taking a few flights of stairs, and you addressed the concept of accessibility when you said that when one thinks of ramps, one should do that when one thinks of stairs, and have in mind that not everyone is equally able. So that I thought was something that stuck in my mind as well. When Sophie spoke about design from a human scale and using the example of imagining the experience of someone walking at walking speed, and what's their eye level experience rather than the sort of top-down view only. And I learned about the important work of Jan Gehl, which I did not know prior to this conference. And I learned that Copenhagen was famous for cycling. So far, to me, Copenhagen was famous for the statue of the Little Mermaid, but that might be some recency bias on my part. Going on with what Celia said about why don't kids go outside anymore? I think that resonated with me as a father, and I sort of thought back to how I spent much of my childhood outdoors, and my daughter doesn't really do that. So there's certainly some truth in that. So that was a nice meme. And also on a more serious note, when Celia focused on addressing climate change, it brought back to my mind something I read earlier in the day about a comment that Arnold Schwarzenegger, the former governor of California and actor, had made in terms of maybe reframing the discussion about climate change, because it's sort of such a global concept that people find it harder to engage with that, and rather putting it as a discussion on pollution. And that certainly is maybe worth a thought. And it also links in with what Celia then later on talked about separating modes of transportation. And also there was a point on pollution in Daniel's talk later on. Joyce's remarks about taking the road away from cars and bringing it back to people, and her comment that that trees were the community priority in the talk that she gave, I found quite memorable. And as did I find memorable that Robert talked about having walked for most of his life, and I thought that I had done the same, but I haven't really kept it up. So I made the personal commitment to do more of that, and that's certainly an inspiration. So thanks, Robert, for that comment. And Robert also spoke about making benches accessible, which is, I think that's a fantastic idea. I've often thought that some of the design of benches and what I see in Edmonton isn't really all that useful and kind of limits use, actually. And then I also liked Robert's focus on crime prevention through environmental design. Bear in mind that what I'm saying here is an outsider's perspective, as my interaction with this field typically takes two forms. One is whenever I talk to Karen about it, and the second is these conferences, of which I now have the privilege of giving closing remarks for a third year. Daniel's comments about the safety and security being front of mind of public transit agencies are something I'll take away from his talk. I applaud him for his success in the cycling initiative and how that really improved user experience. And then finally, the last group of speakers of the community Choose Well project. What do I take away from that? Well, the backyard games park from the town of Vulcan, I think that's very interesting how that underutilized park area was revitalized. I like the idea of the grow towers in Fort McKay, which kind of brought together aspects of environmental design, food security, and community engagement. And just when I thought that my last image from today would be that picture of the skinned moose, which I thought was going to haunt me tonight. I had a very interesting discussion in the breakout group about how really this conference brings together people with different professional backgrounds and different qualifications, and how it's all sort of coming together rather nicely and being a great interdisciplinary discussion. So what I really want to say, Karen, is thank you for putting on a fantastic first day. I think it's been a most enjoyable and educational experience for me, and I hope it has been the same for the other people who participate. Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Sebastian. Thanks for joining us today. And thanks for giving those summary remarks. I think it's one of the hardest speeches to give, right, at the end of the day. So thank you so much for doing that. 3 years in a row on top of it. So thank you to Dr. Straube for that summary.